What happens when the tough gets going and going and going and keeps on going? And we found out last week, I know you were thrilled to learn it, that things usually get worse before they get better. But we don't worry about that because Psalm 34 tells us many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. Out of them all. And so, you know, it's a bit of Murphy's Law, right? How many remember Murphy's Law? How many had a Murphy's Law week? Anybody? Murphy's Law works like this. Nothing's as easy as it looks. Everything takes longer than you think. And if something can go wrong, it will go wrong, and at the worst possible time. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's the deal with this Murphy? Who's this Murphy guy? Like, what a loser this guy is. Actually, he was a rocket scientist, is what he was. His name was Edward A. Murphy, Jr. And what his job was to do rocket testing to make sure they didn't blow up. And in fact, what his plan was I have to consider the worst case scenario. And that's where he developed Murphy's Law. So it's not actually so bad when you think about it. So here's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be in Romans chapter 8. It's this verse, just one little verse you all know, you all love or love to hate. It depends how you look at it. And we're going to look at it today, Romans 8:28. It is just so fantastic because it is a life changer, a game changer if we can embrace it. And it has everything to do with what we're talking about when the tough gets going. So here it is, Romans chapter 8, verse 28. We know that all things work together for good, to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose. That's all we're going to talk about today, but we're going to workshop this verse like we did last week, and so I'm going to ask you some questions. What things work together for good? All things work together for good. You know what that means? Not all good things work together for good. All things work together for good. All good things, all bad things, all very, very bad things. This is a tough one for us to comprehend, but in fact, this is what the scripture says. Now, second part of this. To whom do all things work together for good? You mostly got it. To those who love God and to those who are called according to his purpose. You know what? All things don't just work together for good, for everybody and anybody. It's for those who reach out and grab a hold of Jesus, for those who love God and who know and are determined to be called according to his purpose. Now, I know a message like this is a hard one. For those of you that have suffered real tragedy in life, and that includes probably most of us or all of us here, you think, how can this possibly work together for good? And that's where we're going to go today, because that's the next question. And I'm not going to expect you to answer it because I'm going to spend my whole message on it. And it's this question: how do all things work together for good?